2 teammates, 1 course, and the challenge ahead. Qualifying for the United States Golf Challenge has begun at selected golf courses nationwide. The United States Golf Challenge is 2-man best ball at its finest. Can your team be the best in the nation, perhaps in the world? Dust off your sticks, hit the range, and sign up now at usgolfchallenge.com.
Have you heard of the fantastic new golf shoes which actually will help your game? Squares will help you improve your balance, stability, and give you more distance.
You want to work on your golf swing authentically? Do it from ground upwards. Change your shoes, change your game.
I did, and I gained 7 yards. These shoes are designed with the latest performance technology, and in testing, they're proven to help add distance. Just go to getsquares.com to find out more. Squares, the distance golf shoe.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to On Par with Amanda. We are so excited to have you back, and now we are on TV. I'd like to introduce my guest this week, Mr. Bill, the GolfFather Cuevas. Hello. Hello, hello.
Hello.
I want to jump right in. Man, we are obviously in the middle of the waste management, and Rory McIlroy was sure feisty at the beginning of this. So I wanted to touch on this. We haven't got a chance to talk about it. If for those of you out there that have seen and heard his press conference leading up to the waste management, he did not hold back. He wanted to talk, and it was kind of his platform to say, let's go. So as you guys know, the Distance Insight Report has been something that has been kind of a work in progress for a long time. And so for those of you listening, the Distance Insight Report is basically, they're trying to have manufacturers and golf companies alike figure out a way to stop players from driving the ball 400 yards out on tour. But the problem is this report, this insight report, isn't going to just affect the pros. It's going to be across the board. They're spending a ton of money. They're working on this project instead of putting that money elsewhere. And Rory clearly makes that a point. And so let me read a little bit to you about this. He says, he said that they are moving into the solution phase after a year of issuing a Distance Insight Report. While the camera was still rolling, he said, sure, I'd be here all day for that when talking about let's get into the facts. So he says, so I think the authorities, the R&A, USGA are looking at the game through a tiny little lens. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to change something that pertains to 0.1% of the golfing community, also known as the pros. He said 90.9% of people that play the game for the enjoyment or entertainment, they don't need to be told what ball or golf clubs to use. He said, we have to make the game as easy and approachable as possible for the majority of golfers. So he clearly made, and this statement, I was very proud of him for sticking up for what he said, but he said, honestly, I think the Distance Insight Report has been a huge waste of time and money because that money and its cost to do the report could have been spent getting people in the game. So, Bill, what do you think about this? My opinions, but I'm going to let you go first.
I don't get it. You know, you have people that are working out more. You got Bryson, who's going into longer shafts, doing everything humanly possible to figure out how to hit the ball even longer than what he's already doing. Right. Has he won every match that he's been in? No. Has he come close to winning every single one? No. You have the guys, Rory hits the ball with 300 yards. You got DJ that's crushing the ball. You got a lot of guys that are crushing the ball. But then you got guys, even older guys that are on tour that aren't, and they're still winning. So yeah, they're hitting the ball 100 yards less than somebody else, but they're They're making it up on their short game. They're making it on
Right.
their wedge game. They're finding a way to fine tune it. So to penalize everybody across the board, why not just introduce one golf ball? This is the golf ball everybody's going to use. And then next week we might put another golf ball. Don't tell anybody what golf you're going to play, and just give everybody across the board. Would they do that? No, because it's not fair. You can't make every
Right.
golf. There is nothing. I mean, we all know it. For the most part, the professionals are going to get their ball tested, floated, this, that, find the access, and do everything else. We go out there to what we figure out. Why did I just hit that ball 250 yards, and the other shot I hit that before the other ball, which was the same sleeve, a different distance?
Sure.
Welcome to golf. It
Right.
is what it is. Not all golf balls, unless you get yourself a little machine, a little calibrator or something. Oh, this is the ball. The compression's perfect. There's nothing perfect. Why mess with something? I can't hit it 300 yards, but I want to. And if that ball keeps getting better and I can keep getting further, it gets me more interested to whip out that driver, because I want to keep up with you. You're
Right.
hitting the ball past me. I want to catch up to you. So
Right.
I don't know. I think it's a waste of time for the last year. Find another way to mess with them. They're going to hit the ball long.
Right.
They went to that phase of making every golf course longer. It went up to 7,200. Half the time you go to one of these courses, I go to Innisbrook and I'll play there at the Snake Pit. And I'm looking at the tips. I'm like, wow, this is really far. But that's not where they play from. They got another set of tees, which is even further away. And you're trying to figure out, wow, these guys are incredible at what they do, but not everybody's doing it.
Right.
So I don't know. I think I agree with Rory and them wasting money. They could have put it into making the game better for everybody else. This year has been phenomenal through COVID. Everybody wants to walk. Everybody's doing it. Push carts are 3-4 times, from what they were last year. Golf bags, 3-4 times in the production. Everything in that aspect is going, and you want to just kill the game for a golf ball. I think there's other ways that they can do it.
And that's the thing. I mean, he said he was asked if he would be in favor of a local rule or different rules for pros, so separating out. And he said, I'd be all for that. He said, if they want to try to make the game more difficult for us or try to incorporate more skill in the game, he said, I'm fine. Like, that's great. But what you're doing right now is not just affecting, like he said, pros are 0.1% of golfers across the board. So he said, in trying to protect, because that was their thing, we're trying to protect the field, but in trying to protect the field, you now are ruining it for so many others, or potentially ruining it for others. And so he said, you have to look at it as a whole, even though you have pros on one side of the spectrum and then you have the average golfer. But he said, you have to be careful with what you're doing. And I agree with that. I think, I don't know how you see the other side. I get it. There are guys, like you said, like Bryson, who is hitting the ball astronomically far. Like, I mean, we've never seen this before on tour.
Yeah.
Even when Tiger was in his prime, he was not even close to that. But I think, like you said, it would be different if every single tournament Bryson was winning now. Once he linked onto this and now he's winning and monopolizing, but he's not. I mean, yeah, sure, he's had a few wins or he's playing, but it's not an outright dominance. And so I really think that, I think Rory has just had it. And he's like, look, you keep beating a dead horse. This keeps coming up. But instead, you're affecting and spending so much money towards this program and this solution phase. So
they're spending money to cut distance, and everybody else is spending money to create more distance. More spin, better skin. I mean, even during the virtual PGA show, every golf ball, they still, whether it be Titleist, Bridgestone, Encore, everybody is trying to push that ball to the next limit. But it's up to us to make it work. They go, we're going to give you 10 more yards. Okay, I still got to hit the sweet spot. I still got to do everything in the mechanic wise to make that. Is that 10 yards going to be further into the woods, or it's going to be 10 yards in the fairway? So for us, we want a need. I guess it clicks when it says, 10 yards, you're going to do this. But we're not them. You know what I mean? So
Right.
there's other ways that they can make them. Just like in the golf course, when you go, we play to our abilities. We either got
Right.
to play forward tees, middle tees, 6,100, 5,800, whatever is your handicap. That's what you want to play. And if you can get a ball that works better for you, then more
Sure.
power to you. But I don't get it. I don't. You know, it's more than just the ball. These
It
clubs,
is.
they're pushing these drivers. I mean, some of these guys are hitting, these long irons further than most people are hitting their drivers. So
Right. Oh yeah.
why mess with it? Why is it just the ball? I think it's more than just the ball. These guys are incredible at what they do. They put in the time, they put in the effort, and I don't think that anybody has an advantage by doing it, because Bryson shows, he's hitting out driving the field 30, 40 yards, but he's not winning the field.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's the other thing. I think Rory made a really good point. So towards the end of his rant, he said, I get it. Like he said, but they're looking at the wrong thing if they're wanting to control, because he said, no matter what regulations you put on manufacturers, ball, clubs, whatever, they're a company designed to find a way around it. So even though this regulation is put in and you can no longer use this core for a golf ball, they are going to find another core that isn't illegal that is going to do the same thing. Like that's why they're a manufacturer. They know how to do these things.
Yeah.
So even, like he said, you just have to give up and stop wasting so much time towards this one thing when you're losing out on using all of that money, time, effort, resources, all of those things geared towards
growing the game,
growing the actual game. And he said, on one hand, you're wanting to protect the field, but on the other hand, you're hurting the overall field. And he said, if you want to make rules for pros that are different, great, go ahead. He said, I'd be all for it. But he said, but for the general public, you cannot make this a widespread one rule because they're not the same.
No, it's not. It's not the same anymore. And the thing is, it's a golf ball. A lot of these guys are under contract to play a specific golf ball. Who's it going to hurt? The manufacturers are going to hurt. The contracts are going to go away. All that stuff is going to start disappearing if you start micromanaging. What's the purpose of all these extra balls if you can't get the extra distance that you want and need?
Yep, I agree. Well, you've heard it from the GolfFather himself. Thanks for joining me, keeping me company on par with Amanda.
I forgot to use my sexy voice for the whole thing. I was going to my Barry White voice, but
maybe next time.
Maybe next time. Yeah.
Well, folks, thanks for joining in. It's always great to have you listening and now watching, and we hope to see you next week. And until then, keep swinging for par.